Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brian once again with Fortis Aquitas Christi, and today we're going to be reacting to another North Dakota speaker at the HHS committee concerning HB 1373, which failed yesterday. I didn't get this woman's name. I started my recording after she had already introduced herself, but we're going to dig into some of the comments that she made, and we're going to find out that what she's saying isn't quite true. So let's get after it.
And our wrongful death civil statute by saying a human being is legally a person from the moment of fertilization. If passed, this personhood bill would have broad and negative ramifications related to healthcare, taxpayer-funded litigation, religious liberty, and legal consistency. One of the first concerns is on restrictions to pregnancy and miscarriage care. House Bill 1373 aims to ban nearly all abortions. There are narrow exceptions for diagnostic testing in miscarriage. It also includes an exception when saving the life of the pregnant person, but only if there are, in quotes, reasonable steps to save the life of the unborn child. That raises questions about what is reasonable and how a healthcare provider would handle pregnancy complications and emergencies. For example, there is not an exception for ectopic pregnancies, which are never viable and can result in the death of the pregnant woman. While miscarriage is listed as an exception, many women, including myself twice, have experienced incomplete miscarriage.
Okay, so nothing she just said is true. Applying personhood to the child in the womb does not prevent miscarriage care, does not prevent ectopic pregnancy care, and it does not prevent partial miscarriage care. Abortion has nothing to do with any of those things. Abortion is the purposeful killing, murder of an otherwise healthy human being and its removal. That's it. That's what abortion is. So this woman is fear-mongering. That's all she's doing. She is fear-mongering, and she is lying. She's lying. And she has to lie because what she's trying to preserve is murder.
Which can endanger your life and health without medical treatment. As a result, doctors will hesitate to provide prompt care, waiting until women are near death because they will fear a murder or assault charge.
What other area of triage is what she just said true? What other area of medical triage would she say the same thing about? Because that's what it's calling for. Reasonable steps that the doctor would enter the room to preserve as much human life as possible. And sometimes in the tragic fallen world that we live in, sometimes you can't save both of them. And the doctor has to make a determination of who has the higher chance of survival. It's not a decision I would want to make, but it's one that's made every day. So once again, what is she talking about?
Under this law. Another concern is restrictions on infertility care. Personhood legislation will make the practice of in vitro fertilization, known as IVF, impossible because of the legal risks. Hundreds of North Dakotans have used IVF to build their families after facing the challenges of infertility. This bill would take away their opportunity to realize their dreams of having children through the miracle of medical science.
First of all, this woman claimed to be a Christian. The Bible says that it's God who opens and closes the womb. The miracle of medical science? How about the miracles of God where he opened Sarah's womb after she was already past the age of childbearing? Or how God preserved the promised son, Isaac, but didn't spare his own son? How about those miracles? Why is she fear-mongering? And if applying personhood to children in the womb from conception makes IVF impossible, why is that? because there's no way to treat human beings as human beings through IVF. There's no way to do it. So yeah, she's right, as it should be, because every human being deserves to have their life protected.
Another concern is the impacts to the healthcare workforce. It is already difficult to recruit and retain healthcare providers to North Dakota, especially in rural areas. If House Bill 1373 passes, doctors will fear being charged with murder or assault, and they will not want to work in North Dakota. As a result, the maternal healthcare deserts in North Dakota will become even greater.
You know, this strikes me like the food desert claim. I've traveled all over this country and I've never met a food desert. And I highly doubt that there's a maternal care desert as well. This is just more liberal language that she's employing, more fear mongering. That's all they have is fear, 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 fear. If you can't kill your babies, then this is what's going to happen and you should be afraid. There's not going to be a shortage of healthcare workers. There's not going to be this tragedy of all of a sudden there's no midwives. There's no doctors to deliver babies. That is false. It is false.
I also want to provide a clarifying point related to the elective abortion care in North Dakota. Planned Parenthood does not and never has operated an abortion clinic in North Dakota. North Dakota's independent abortion clinic relocated to Minnesota in recent years, so there is no elective abortion clinic in North Dakota. Another concern with this bill is that the legal fights that result from it will waste more taxpayer dollars. Passing House Bill 1373 will result.
It doesn't matter who operated the murder mill. And that mill that she's referring to just moved across the river into Minnesota. It's still serving the same community. She acts like it's some big victory. But now women are coming from North Dakota to Minnesota to murder their children. And now she's talking about the price of defending life. And she's going to talk about litigation and court cases and this and that. And I wonder what she would say about the Dred Scott decision and the states that ignored that. Were they right to do so? Well, not according to her. I wonder what she would say about states ignoring federal courts concerning certain types of recreational substances. The judiciary is the weakest branch of all the government. And if the legislature passes a law that says X, Y, or Z, the court can only render an opinion as to the constitutionality of that law. But an erroneous court decision can be ignored because we can compare that decision to the language of the Constitution. And when you read the plain language of the 14th Amendment of the federal Constitution, none of the things she says about any of these court rulings is actually true, because the 14th Amendment, which is part of the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, is supreme to that court ruling. So states can and should ignore erroneous court rulings.
Result in more expensive litigation. As background, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. Several courts blocked North Dakota's resulting trigger ban from taking effect while litigation proceeded. In March 2023, the North Dakota Supreme Court blocked this trigger ban. The North Dakota Supreme Court's ruling said women have the fundamental right to obtain an abortion to preserve their life and their health.
So who do I have the fundamental right to murder to preserve my life and my health? If women do, then I do too. So who do I have the fundamental right to murder? Who am I more powerful than? Who can I oppress? Who can I deny personhood to in order to rob them of life to preserve my own health and my own life? That is wicked. That is wicked and disgusting. And this woman holds public office. She should be impeached for lying on a public record. This is an impeachable offense. Bad behavior is an impeachable offense.
In 2023, the North Dakota legislature replaced the trigger ban by passing Senate Bill 2150, a near total abortion ban. That law was struck down by the court as unconstitutional in September 2024.
But why? Why was it declared unconstitutional? Well, she said before that the court said that it was unconstitutional because women have a fundamental right to murder another human being to preserve their life and their health. Where is that in the Constitution? It's nowhere. So once again, she's just pulling things out of thin air, and as the court is. That's what we call legislating from the bench. The court is creating new law from the bench. They don't have that power. And because that's what they're doing, we can ignore what they're saying.
The state is appealing the decision to the North Dakota Supreme Court, which recently blocked the law from being in effect while the case proceeds. North Dakota has spent $800,000 so far defending these abortion laws because House Bill 1373 is even more extreme than Senate Bill 2150.
I don't care about your $800,000. I don't care. I'll spend $1 trillion. Money is irrelevant. Justice is what matters. I wonder how much debt North Dakota has and how they got that debt. I'm sure that there's $800,000 sitting somewhere that's been wasted, that's fraudulent, that's abusive to the North Dakota taxpayer, that could be rediverted to protecting life. I know it's a novel idea. I get it.
The legislature replaced.
All right, sorry guys, we had some technical difficulties there.
Senate Bill 2150, a near total abortion ban. That law was struck down by the court as unconstitutional in September 2024. The state is appealing the decision to the North Dakota Supreme Court, which recently blocked the law from being in effect while the case proceeds. North Dakota has spent $800,000 so far defending these abortion laws because House Bill 1373 is even more extreme than Senate Bill 2150 and because it directly conflicts with the 2023 Supreme Court ruling. It will certainly result in more litigation. Let's not waste more taxpayer dollars by passing this bill. Another concern is the infringement on religious liberty. It's an age-old question. When does a soul or spirit enter a physical being? There are a wide range of deeply held beliefs regarding ensoulment. So as a result, religions have a range of nuanced views on abortion. Not every faith holds the belief that personhood begins at conception or fertilization. For example, in the Jewish faith, a fetus is viewed as part of the pregnant person's body. It is not viewed as an independent person until its first breath.
Well, that's interesting. Let's see what God says, huh? Exodus 21, starting in verses 22, going to verse 25. And if men struggle with each other and strike a woman with child so that she gives birth prematurely, yet there is no injury, he shall surely be fined as the woman's husband will set for him, and he shall pay as the judges decide. But if there is any further injury, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, bruise for bruise, wound for wound. So here, the law of God applies the same standard to the child in the womb as if you struck and injured and harmed a living person. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But if the woman is struck and no harm comes to the child, then the man who struck the woman shall pay a fine, right? But if there's any injury to the child, if it costs the child his life, you pay with your life. An eye, your eye, a tooth, your tooth, a hand, your hand, a foot, your foot. Burns, bruises, and wounds will all be returned. However you injured that child in utero, it will be returned to you. Because that's when the injury occurred, was in utero. So no, this comes from Torah. This is the second book in the Bible, Exodus. Genesis, Exodus. So no, she's lying. She's just full of it.
Which allows the soul to enter the body. By passing House Bill 1373, we are imposing one religious view on all North Dakotans, infringing on the religious liberty of people who do not believe that personhood begins at fertilization.
It doesn't matter what these faiths say about personhood. Just like it doesn't matter what the slaveholders say about the personhood of those they wish to enslave. And just like it doesn't matter what the Nazis say about the personhood of those they wish to murder. Just like it doesn't matter what the communist says about the personhood of those they wish to oppress. You know, by her standard, we should let the Muslim enslave her. By her standard, we should let the Hindu burn the widows of men who die. By her standard, we should let Satanists sacrifice human beings on altars and drink their blood. That's her standard. That's the only logical conclusion. The only logical conclusion to the assertion she just made was to allow anybody to do anything as long as they say that it's under the guise of religious liberty. No. There is no such guise. There is no such protection. And religious liberty, the original intent, was not for every faith to be freely practiced equivalent, as if they were equivalent, because they're not. It was to protect the free practice of Christianity. Because they didn't want to happen in America what happened in England with the Church of England. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be a Muslim and live in America. That doesn't mean you can't be a Jew and live in America. But your faith is not publicly recognized. As per our Constitution, you don't have the liberty to simply impose your religious beliefs on a Christian nation, regardless of what you think about the history of us being a Christian nation. Everything in our Constitution comes from the Bible. All of these fundamental God-given rights we find in the Bible. We don't find them other places. So what is she appealing to when she makes the claims that she does? What makes the claims that she makes true?
Another concern is the lack of legal consistency. House Bill 1373 gives an embryo and a fetus the same legal rights that you and I do, but only in the context of three very specific statutes: murder, assault, and wrongful death. If one believes that the unborn deserve equal protection under the 14th Amendment, why doesn't the bill redefine human being across all state laws? For example, why shouldn't an embryo be counted as a tax dependent?
Because they're in utero, goofy. Because they're in utero. Don't engage in logical fallacies. Just stop.
Or receive child support.
Again, in utero.
If the intention is to protect life, and so it's only about laws that...
How would applying the tax code or child support to a child in the womb protect their lives? What are you talking about? It's a red herring. Completely irrelevant to the conversation.
Protect the endangerment of the embryo or fetus, then why not manslaughter? Or how about getting a DUI, driving under the influence with a child in the vehicle?
Well, that's interesting because those things do exist. So let's see. North Dakota law addresses alcohol use during pregnancy by requiring reports, assessments, and treatment referrals. All right, so let's see. A physician may administer a toxology test to a newborn if they suspect the mother used alcohol during pregnancy. A mandatory reporter may report a pregnant woman who abuses alcohol after she knows she is pregnant, and so on. A report may trigger an assessment for a substance abuse use disorder, treatment, reporting results, all of these things, right? So it is a crime. And it is classified as neglect. Offenses against unborn children. You have murder, except for abortion here. You have manslaughter. You have negligent homicide. You have aggravated assault. You have assault of an unborn child. You have an exception. Right here. This chapter does not apply to acts or omissions that cause the death or injury of an unborn child if those acts or omissions are committed during an abortion performed by or under the supervision of a licensed physician to which the pregnant woman has consented. So written right there into their laws is exception from all of these for abortion. So the fact is that the exception has been written into the law already. And HB 1373 was going to address this by applying personhood to the child in the womb. This is how devious these people are. And that's why the bill read the way that it did. She is a liar. She is a daughter of Satan.
This bill is also too extreme for North Dakota. Since personhood legislation has so many negative consequences, this extreme law is out of step with what North Dakotans' views are. In 2014, North Dakota voters had the opportunity to amend the state constitution to say that the inalienable right of every human being at any stage of development must be recognized and protected. This personhood ballot measure in 2014 lacked any exceptions. And doctors said it would end IVF in North Dakota if it should pass. Because of these and other concerns, the personhood measure was soundly defeated by voters, with 64% of North Dakotans voting no.
Yeah, and the crowds all shouted, "Crucify him, crucify him." It doesn't matter how many people are calling for the murder of their neighbors. You don't allow it. It doesn't matter. Yes, you are all wrong. Every single one of you that thinks the way that she does, you are all wrong. This woman has no merit. Nothing she has said is true. We've shown it. We've shown it. Her assertions are not true. She's just there fear-mongering. And she's made it all up. She's a liar. She's been lying.
More recently, a poll in November 2024 revealed that 55% of North Dakotans oppose the state's near total abortion ban, Senate Bill 2150. That law includes very narrow exceptions, and the bill before you today is even more restrictive than that. So, committee and chairman, if House Bill 1373 becomes law, it would put women's lives and doctors' livelihoods at risk because it would restrict pregnancy and miscarriage care. It would erase the dreams of many hopeful parents by ending IVF in our state. And it would also infringe on religious beliefs and waste even more taxpayer dollars on litigation. People should have the right to make their own deeply personal decisions about if, when, and how they build their families without interference from us as politicians. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, please give House Bill 1373 a do not pass recommendation. Thank you.
What in the world did we just hear? But that's it. There it is, folks. You heard it for yourselves. There was no pro-abort that stood up and testified against this bill. It was all people who claimed to believe in Jesus. It was all people who claimed to stand for life. It was all people who claimed this or that. But once again, just like with the man yesterday in our last video, we have another liar who just makes things up. So that's all we have for you guys today. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Let us know what you think about what she said, what we said, and make sure you like and subscribe the video and share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.